Hey everyone, this is Steve. I'm recording this brief update on things on Friday afternoon in my backyard. Number of things to talk about in terms of stuff going on in the class. So I hope you take a few minutes to watch this. First thing is we're in the midst of the peer review for the topic proposal exercise. There's a little bit of confusion for some of you. You are only needed to post a draft of this exercise to the discussion for peer review. And I can understand the confusion because I kind of messed up when posting the dates for when this assignment is actually due. But it's really not due to me until the portfolio is due in, I believe it's October 19th. So we got a couple weeks before you have to turn in a final version of the project to me. I'll come to that in just a second. So that was one point of confusion. Another point of confusion, some of you just didn't post it on time, and that's a problem because you can lose a half letter. And then the other point of confusion is that some of you didn't share it properly. Even after I emailed you and asked you to fix it, you still didn't share it properly, and that's all a half letter too. This is all to say you have to pay attention to two things. You got to pay attention to the deadlines, because it's really important that you start the peer review process on time so that your peers have a chance to actually review your documents. And it's also important that you share it properly, because otherwise we can't review it. So if you lost some grade on this portfolio for this time around, just think about that for the next time, and hopefully you won't make the same mistakes twice. Once you get done looking at once you are in your peer group and you read your peers' comment or peers' drafts, you want to make comments on those drafts, like ideas and stuff in the margins, and you also want to fill out that rubric for the grading rubric for each one of your peers' topic proposal exercises. That will give them a little bit more feedback, and will also give me a sense of like what you were thinking of in the course of the peer review. Okay, now when you turn this in on October 19th for the final portfolio, for this getting started portfolio, you will want to use the original Google Doc that you're using right now for the topic proposal, and also this for future assignments too, the annotated bibliography, the critique exercise, and the portfolio essay, because I'll go back and look at those documents to see the sort of changes that you made. So in other words, I'm interested in seeing the process. So use the same Google document from here on out for the rest of this portfolio. Also, don't resolve the comments, and I know a lot of you will probably want to do that because resolving the comments on Google Docs makes it look neater and stuff like that. I understand that, but I don't really want to see it neat. I want to see the mess. I want to see the sort of other comments that people made, and I'll make some comments probably off of some of those people's comments. Now, one other thing that I don't think has been as clear as it should be, or maybe I haven't made it as clear as I should have made it earlier, and that is that I'm not going to extensively comment or even very closely read any of these exercises until the entire portfolio is due in mid-October. Okay, so what that means is that you really do need to rely on your peers for the best kind of advice that you can get on the strength of your working thesis, on the sort of direction of your project, and those sorts of things. I'll come back and poke around in there a little bit, especially to make sure that you're all on the right track. But you won't see any significant comments from me on this work until the whole portfolio is due. And I'll explain that process when we get a little bit closer to it. Last but not least, don't be surprised if you come back to the website, the class website over the weekend, and see some changes going on here and there. I'm trying to update some things and change some due dates and things like that. Always remember, never forget, that the only place that you can get reliable, accurate information on what's due when is the class homepage on Canvas. That main page that has the calendar and it has a roadmap image at the top of it, you know, the 121 sign at the top. That's your road. That's the only road to stay on. Don't pay attention to that things to do list that shows up on Canvas. Don't pay attention to anything that shows up on the calendar or any other place. Only pay attention to that main page on the Canvas website. One other thing that came up in some of the discussion that I just wanted to mention here real quickly. A number of you talked about the library resources available at EMU and how you can't physically get into the EMU library, or you're trying to use a library in the town that you live in or whatever else. And there's two really important things about that I thought was clear in the work that I gave you, but to think about for research, but I guess maybe not. The first thing is that 90% of the research that you're going to end up doing for this project is going to come from academic journals or the web or mainstream media. It's very few of you are going to need to go to the library to physically get a book, okay? And because of that, you don't physically have to go to the library for these materials. You can log into the EMU library because you all have an account, because you're all EMU students, for free. And well, actually you're paying thousands and thousands of dollars for this. It's not for free at all, but you can log into the library and use these resources, and it doesn't matter if you're in Connecticut or if you're in Kansas or if you're in Washington State. You can get into this stuff, okay? The second thing is the best resource that you're going to have access to in terms of an academic library. You know, if you go to the local public library wherever you live, you'll be able to find some stuff, but not like the same way you'll be able to find academic resources at EMU. So, you know, do take advantage of that. One other thing I'll mention with that is that I got an email from the librarian who's in charge of 121 stuff, and she's the one who's in charge of the Haley Libraries of 121 Research Guide, and they've updated a bunch of their videos and information to reflect the current semester in terms of COVID stuff. So it's worth looking at some of those materials if you haven't looked at them recently, because they're a little bit more current than they were. Okay. I think that's enough. I think that I've updated as much as I can. I hope everybody has a pretty decent rest of their weekend, and I'll see you online.